You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we've had another thrilling day of amazing action in the tournament. In the morning, Australia blitzed Bangladesh. They destroyed them. It was a travesty. Bangladesh came into the tournament as a dark horse in some people's book, and they leave towards the glue factory. I think. Then this afternoon we saw West Indies play in a must-win game against Sri Lanka, and basically completely fall apart and lose. Should be a good show. I'm Jack Cope. I'm joined by Max Rowe Brown. How are you doing, Max?
Hello, Jack. I'm good. That was didn't get the fireworks we hoped for from the West Indies batsmen there, did we? But well, I suppose we did a little bit, but not enough of them.
No.
Not enough for a full display.
No, it's been if you'd paid your tenner for that as your bonfire night activity, you'd be a little bit disappointed, I think.
Yeah.
And we're joined by Dan Weston. Dan, how are you doing the night before Guy Fawkes Day?
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I haven't even thought about fireworks or anything like that at all. Yeah, good shout. I'm good. Yeah.
You're not a firework man.
Well, I know I am, but I think I'm more of a sit in the bedroom and look out the window watching them rather than go to an organised display. But also because I've got like a 10-month-old puppy as well, and it's like his first firework night. I want to be around.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Make sure he's okay. Yeah. So.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyone else likes fireworks? Let us know in the chat, or send us an email. We don't get many emails these days, do we? thecricketpod@gmail.com. Email us.
Let's go old school.
Your fireworks.
Send a letter to Jack's address.
I'll tell you what, there weren't many fireworks from Bangladesh's batters today.
No, there might be a few fireworks up people's arses afterwards. So, let's hear some messages, and we'll get into the first game. Max, tell our audience what they should do.
Yeah, please like and subscribe to the video, the live stream, whatever, and the channel on YouTube, and also head over to Twitter and Instagram at the Cricket Pod to get involved there on social media. And we are sponsored by Woodstock Cricket, so if you, like Shimron Hetmeyer, are now in need of a new bat, head over to their website and use code TCP25 for 25% off. And happy Diwali!
Yes, yeah, happy Diwali, everyone. Cool. Max, first game. We're gonna do reverse order today because there were more runs in the later game, and that's how we're going to judge these things. West Indies, they're officially out of the tournament. Why are they officially out of the tournament?
Well, they played Sri Lanka today, and Sri Lanka already out of the tournament. Yes, we're up against the West Indies, whose hopes were hanging by the thinnest of threads, but West Indies won the toss, so that was the first step out of the way, and they put Sri Lanka into bat. Unfortunately for the West Indies, they don't have any bowlers who can take wickets, so Sri Lanka just smacked them around for 20 overs and scored 189 for 3. We thought Sri Lanka's batting was really bad before the tournament. We revised that slightly as we've seen them play, as they've got a few real decent looking players out there, and a couple of those that we picked out the other day, Nissanka, who looks reasonable, and Charlotte Asalanka, who looks genuinely really good, both put on a bit of a show. And the captain as well came in at the end for a quick biff and put on a very imposing total of 189. But this West Indies team is all about runs, batting and firepower, so we thought if there's anyone who could turn things around and chase it down, maybe it would be them. And forgetting the early form at the start of the tournament. And they got off to the worst possible start, as Chris Gale and Evan Lewis fell in the same Binura Fernando over. And only Nicholas Paran and Shimron Hetmeyer actually threatened to score any runs. Actually, only Nicholas Paran and Shimron Hetmeyer got into double figures. But fortunately, they did at least get into big double figures. Roston Chase failing in between the two. Paran scored 46. Shimron Hetmeyer scored 81. I think about 74 of those were with one bat, and then 7 with another 3 bats. That was an interesting little passage of musical chairs with the old Willow. But yeah, ultimately they fell comfortably short, and even was it 20 run defeat, and even that was made to look a bit better by Shimon Hetmar at the end, taking some of the seamers to the cleaners, but no, couldn't handle Hasaranga.
Right, fellas. These are two eliminated teams now, so I'm loath to go too deep into this match because it is virtually irrelevant. Hetmar batted all right. Sri Lanka was pretty good. Hasaranga's good leg spinner. We've said all of those things before. What might be interesting though is if we do a little bit of pass notes on these two teams and talk about where they go from here, because obviously they're going to be building towards another T20 World Cup next year. There's a few of the players on either side that might get IPL deals, so that's probably a bit more interesting a topic than doing a match report on a game that is a wet firework. If your firework does get wet, don't go too near it because it might explode. But I don't think either of these two teams are going to explode. Dan, which of these two? I'll give you the choice here. Which of these two teams would you like to do an autopsy on first?
Oh wow, probably the West Indies.
All right, West Indies. Let's go because they came into the tournament in the top 3-4 favourites to win this thing. England and India, I think, were everyone's 1 and 2. Pakistan and West Indies, 3 and 4 for a lot of people. I think I had Pakistan above West Indies, to be honest. But West Indies, I thought they'd get through the group. They've been a bomb site. Do you want to quickly appraise where they've been a bomb site and what they might be able to take forward out of this mess?
Yeah, so I think that one of the reasons why they've kind of struggled is that they've got a lot of legacy picks in their squad. I've talked about these legacy picks a lot. Now, they've got rid of Lendl Simmons after his shambolic 16 off 35 last week or the week before, whenever it was. I mean, probably the worst innings I've ever seen in T20 cricket. And they've also got, and he's 36, Chris Gale, 42, Andre Russell, 33, Kieran Pollard, 34, Bravo, 38, Ravi Rampal, 37. Like that's not a team that's going anywhere in the future.
So, like CSK look like a nursery.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to some extent you can say that there's some mitigating circumstances because Fabian Allen and Obed McCoy were ruled out with injuries. But it's clear that there's going to need to be that reasonably big overhaul. And, even someone like Jason Holder's now 30 as well. So you're thinking, right, okay, where are we going to go from here? Who's going to be the captain? Is there going to be a big change? I think Bravo's announced his retirement. But realistically, you're thinking, right, we'll rip the script up and start again. I think unfortunately for him, Chris Gale is now really quite struggling, and Curtly Ambrose probably did get it right when he sort of mentioned that he was on the wane before the World Cup. But the Universe boss disagreed, but I think he's got about 20 runs all tournament. So, yeah.
I think it's 31 in 4 games.
Was it? Well,
yeah. It's not many.
I've been 10 runs short, but it's still not pretty. And yeah, they've got some players like Evan Lewis, Nicholas Puran, Shimon Hetmyer, Akil Hussain, McCoy, Fabian Allen. So they've got the kind of some players who can kind of take them forward. They've also got a few players, younger players as well. Kenar Lewis had a good CPL. There's a couple of others who have shown some form of potential. O'Shane Thomas has been talked about for a while, but hasn't really delivered. But on the whole, like they're just going to have to rip the script up and start again. If they've got this team or close to this team in the next World Cup in a year's time, then they're going to struggle just the same.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. I reckon there's one more go around at least. Well, there's definitely one more go around for Andre Russell. He's shown
Russell,
enough. Yeah. I think Pollard should be in the team for the next T20 World Cup. Hetmyer is obviously one of the younger ones. Puran, I think they're about. Evan Lewis is about. Jason Holder, probably deserving of a place. Akil Hussain had a decent tournament, and Hayden Walsh Jr. Acceptable too. So it's not a complete bomb site. I don't know if we have to completely destroy the whole West Indies
it's like
game
half
plan.
and half kind of thing.
Yeah. But there are. I think we definitely saw that for Ravi Rampal, for Chris Gale, for Simmons, this was one tournament too far. There's not really any other way to put it. They didn't do themselves justice. They didn't do the quality of play that they are justice. I mean, each one of those.
They were. That they were
justice, and I think you're right. I think even looking forward one World Cup to next year, I don't think you can justify the selection of any of those players. Bravo obviously gone already, but that's going to be quite tricky for them to manage, isn't it, Max? 40% of your team, ish, 40% of the first 11 you put out in this tournament gone, and all of them reasonably key players.
Yeah, it's not an ideal situation to be in, is it? Apologies there, my camera decided that it just was going to stop working, so I plugged in a different one. But yeah, it's rebuild time, isn't it? There comes a time in many teams' cycles where they have to get some players out and get some new ones in. But the problem that West Indies have got is that they don't seem to have planned for that eventuality and considered the fact that they've got a bunch of old gits in their side, and they've got to do it all in one go. So they're going to be in an interesting position for the next 2 or 3 years, I should think, unless a couple of the younger blokes really hit the ground running. I think it's going to be a long rebuilding process.
I think there's a lot riding on Hetmeyer and Puran, isn't there?
Yeah.
And to maybe a slightly smaller extent, Evan Lewis. Bowling wise as well, I just don't think they're a very good bowling team, and I'm not. I don't know. I don't watch enough CPL to be like they've obviously missed out on picking this guy or that guy.
Picked. I mean, for this World Cup, they've picked the wrong side. I mean, they've got Ravi Rampal as a power play bowler. Like he's not going to take. Really, he's not going to take wickets in the power play with like fast in-swinging bowling like someone like Trent Bolt or even Ruben Trumpelman, for God's sake. Like we're talking Namibia here. We've got a more potent opening bowler than the West Indies, and they've got they've rolled out a bunch of guys who bowl like high 70, low 80 mile an hour bowling, and Andre Russell is the fastest of the lot.
They've basically taken the England Test bowling lineup that's going to go to Australia to the UAE for a T20 World Cup.
Pretty much. Yeah, but aged them another 10 years. Apart from Jimmy Anderson, who fits nicely in there.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it, to see a champion dethroned and like obviously be past it. We thought after the England game that they had the right tactics and they went for it, and it maybe didn't pay off. Looking at it now, a few matches later, it does just look like some people have passed their sell-by date. Dan, is there anything else that West Indies on a positive side can maybe take from this tournament?
Not really, I don't think. Their boundary percentage wasn't even that great in this tournament either, which is kind of like their trademark. Their non-boundary strike rate was predictably pretty mediocre. They again kind of had over 50 dots today, which is not a massive problem if you're hitting a ton of boundaries, but traditionally in this tournament, actually, they really haven't. Now, the other thing is, I think we talk about their innings today, and we look at Shimron Hetmeyer, 81 off 54. Now, that looks great. However, there were 77 for 4 after 11, just over 11 overs when Puran got out, so 67 balls and 77. They gave themselves too much to do. These players, I think, I know it sounds really stupid, and I'm sure I'm going to get abuse for it in the chat, but I'll say it anyway. They've been IPL'd, and what I mean by that is like everyone in the IPL thinks it's like a great thing to take it deep and deep and deep, and it's all really, I think, kind of. There was a game at Sharjah in the last IPL, not the one that's just gone, but the one that was fully in UAE. Mm-hmm. And like Rajasthan, it was the game when Tawatia got like a load at the end, got up like badly to start with. And I think Rajasthan got like 70 off the last 4 overs or something and ended up winning at Sharjah when Sharjah was playing well. And like everyone's like, oh, what a great idea. We'll do exactly the same thing. And it's like never works ever again, but they still seem to think it's a really great idea. And they did the same thing today, West Indies. They never really gave themselves a chance to win the match. They just took it far too deep before they really started like putting their foot on the accelerator.
Well, they didn't give themselves much of a chance to win it with the ball either, I suppose.
Well,
that's the other side of things. They had a lot to do. But the 2 early wickets didn't help either.
The infamous Dew is now taking less of an influence, if you like, in terms of. I think by the end of last week, everyone was like, "It's impossible to win batting first in the evening match. It's impossible. It never happens." So now 4 matches in a row, won by the team batting first in the night match.
It's too easy. We need more Dew. That's what we
need. It's amazing, isn't it, how these teams actually, when you show a bit of
I think
intent
we need sprinklers on the outfield at half time. That's what we need.
Yeah. I think Knuckle tweeted earlier and said it's amazing when the team's back first show some intent and then funny enough they actually win. And look what's happened. It's so true.
Yeah, well, what Sri Lanka did well, and I think let's flip over to Sri Lanka. West Indies, they have to write this one off. They have to write off a bunch of their players, and they have to hope that really Hetmeyer and Puran develop quite a lot because they're good players, or they look like they could be good players. But I don't know if the production's fully up to speed yet. They probably need to find like 4 bowlers in 12 months, which could be tricky. Let's look at Sri Lanka because I think the prognosis for them. Entering this tournament through the group stage, Ross saying that they're not going to make it out of the groups. They're going to finish bottom of the groups. Ross saying they were the worst cricket team he's ever seen in his entire life. And now, here they are, beating the West Indies, beating the old champs. They've been in a good game with England. They probably could have beaten, or should have beaten, South Africa.
They should have beaten South Africa, yeah.
They are, and they'll maybe be a little bit disappointed, Max, not to be in the knockouts.
Potentially, yeah. I think just with that, it's the South Africa game, isn't it? Which is the defining moment for them. I think the England game was tighter than it looked, and they gave it a good go, but probably wouldn't have been expecting to win that one anyway. And the Sri Lanka and the South Africa one, if they have any regrets, it'll be that South Africa game. But ultimately, I think they should be really happy with how it's gone and how they've played, considering the sort of position and the performances they were putting in earlier this year. We'd all written them off. We thought they were absolutely dreadful, but they've got some really good building blocks now to kick on and actually put together a decent side. There's the guys we mentioned. There's Asalanka, and Nissanka, and then obviously Hasaranga is just, he's gold dust, isn't he? He's an absolute star. And now, he's the number 1 ranked T20 international.
And we all know how important that is.
Yeah.
That's the main thing that you need to be aiming for. I agree. I think that they have about 70-80% of a good team. I still think they need another fast bowler. I don't think Kamara's fast and he's angry. But he's also dreadful. And I think they probably need to find one more batter that's quite good, because I don't think they solved that.
Kumara, they dropped Kumara today, didn't they, and brought in Benura Fernando, and he took those 2 wickets at the start. So perhaps that's a route to go down. But yeah, I think the fast bowling is the key area that they need to sort out, and then maybe one extra batsman. Spin's locked down though. Spin's looking good.
Dan, is there anyone you've been particularly impressed with from a Sri Lanka point of view?
Yeah, well, funny enough, I've been running numbers on a few of these guys because I'm doing some prep for T10 because I fly out next week for the T10. I think Sean is in one of the other team's squads, so I've been impressed with him. Obviously, Hasaranga, I was actually running his numbers about half an hour before this pod whilst I was watching the chase. I said earlier, I think one of the other pods we've done in this World Cup is Rashid Khan 1, Hasaranga 2, and then a lot of players with not much between them, 3 to 10 kind of thing in terms of leg spinners. And Hasaranga, no doubt is a class act. Asalanka is, say, someone who's probably caught my eye quite a lot because his underlying numbers really coming into this tournament weren't great. So that's been a real surprise to see him kick on. And it'll be interesting to see, I think, how much overseas T20 franchises throw the recency bias card at Asalanka, because I can see him getting picked up somewhere pretty soon, but I'm not convinced that he's the best option, if that makes sense. Probably a better option than Umuk Chand, though, who got signed by Melbourne Renegades today, which was probably one of the weirdest signings that I've seen for a long time.
I'm just looking at Asalanka. He's only scored 900 runs in domestic T20 cricket, so there's no sample size to speak of for him.
But what he had done, he hasn't really hit a high boundary percentage really in domestic cricket, and which is somewhat diluted in Sri Lanka. So I like Rajapaksa as well. He was someone I mentioned, I think, in the summer when Sri Lanka were as Ross said, a really bad international team. Someone who I thought should have been in their team. And I think he missed out then because of some form of fitness issues. or the infamous fitness test that players seem to fail on a regular basis, when no one actually knows what you actually need to do to pass it.
I'd love to take any fitness test that Chris Gale's passed.
Well, yeah.
Well, apparently for Chris Gale, they gave him a specialised fitness test which took into account that he's 41 years old and quite unfit. So he had a lower, which completely undermines the point of having a fitness test, doesn't it?
Yes,
you're like,
it does, doesn't it?
You're unfit, so you only have to do 10 heads-ups. but, you know...
Andre Russell, you've got to run a marathon.
There are still in the Sri Lanka side some weird people. I mean, Ivishka Fernando, I don't think I'll ever... I'll never get to the bottom of why he's playing international cricket, but he is. And I think there's a little bit similar to Bangladesh. There's probably they have a little bit of a problem, Sri Lanka, in that at a domestic level there's no serious competition, and the quality is quite low. So you never really know whether someone's actually good or not until you give them a game in international cricket. And then it takes a long time to give them, to get a sample size, unless they are amazing immediately. It's quite difficult. I mean, like, how many good players have a string of bad games? Like get ducks 3 or 4 matches in a row. It happens.
Yeah.
And if you come into the Sri Lanka side, that happens, and you're Don Bradman, then you go back into Sri Lankan domestic cricket for God knows how flipping long until they come calling it again. So they've got some internal structural issues.
Yeah.
But they have found a core of a side here, I think.
Yeah, I think they'll be banking on some recency bias to get that core into some overseas franchise tournaments.
Well, they could probably do with it, to be honest. They could probably do with it. And I'd be excited to see some of these players. I mean, I hope somebody does give Asalanka a go at one of the IPL franchises. Not necessarily because I've got any vested interest in it, but he's been entertaining in this, and I'd like to see more of him. I'd like to know, is he actually good, or wherever, PSL. There's enough franchise tournaments.
It's worth 20 lakh, isn't it? Let's face it.
Well, if he's a number 3, who is left-handed, quite a dynamic hitter of, it looks like, most types of bowling. I mean, he took down Maxwell, didn't he? So it doesn't look like you can necessarily just pin him with a matchup. And he's able to, as he has in this tournament, quite regularly strike at 145, 150, and go hard quite early. Then he's like the next generation of top-order hitter or top-order player, isn't he? That's what you want. It's a guy who can do that. But he's only done... Yeah.
Just remember, though, we live in a world where Alex Hales and Josh Inglis went unsold.
Yeah, that's true.
So he's got players to overcome. And we're going to talk about Josh Inglis later on, because I've got my bee is in my bonnet big time.
Right. I think we can probably say goodbye to these teams. Was this the 5th match for both of them? No, or West Indies? West Indies have got to
play Australia.
Just one more thing, guys, before... Yeah. It'd been so interesting to see where West Indies go with their squad construction. A couple of players that I have caught my eye in CPL and actually are playing in T10 as well. So will kind of be on the radar or on TV in the not too distant future. Romario Shepherd and Dominic Drakes, I think he's the son of Vaspert Drakes, who played for West Indies before. Both of them are pace bowlers and can hit. In quite devastating fashion. So these guys, you're looking at now replacing Bravo, replacing Rampart, probably will be at the sort of front of the queue to replace them, and might be a couple of interesting names for listeners to keep an eye on.
What are they again? Romario Shepherd and
Dominic Drakes.
Well, we'll look out for them because opportunities are coming. If you're a West Indies, if you're the next cab off the rank in the West Indies, you're coming off the rank in the near future. They're off to Pakistan pretty soon. Just interestingly, the final thing, I just remembered this. Sri Lanka, they have to go through the group stage at the next World Cup again, because they played Oman in 2 matches before the World Cup and decided they didn't want them to be official internationals. Had they made them official internationals and won, they would have gone up the IFC rankings far enough to automatically be in the Super 12s. So, shot yourselves in the foot there, lads.
Oops.
That structural disorganisation in Sri Lankan cricket has come to the fore again, right?
Well, it is. It's like an unnecessary 3 matches they have to play now, and a potential banana skin. I mean, probably they'll just end up in a group with Oman and batter them. But if they took those matches seriously against those associate the Oman, the associate nation, then they would have saved themselves some trouble, and it would have felt like a much bigger step for them, I think, to be like, well, last tournament we were in the group stage, this time we're straight into Super 12s. Last tournament we were really close in 2 matches, or a couple, maybe all 3 matches, to pulling off a surprise semi-final berth, and now we can just target that straight from the off. They'll have to plan a whole tournament against some associate nations and beating Ireland and Netherlands and whatever once more. And drag out the length of time that they're in that zone for, which probably isn't ideal. But yeah. Anyway, let's move on to this morning's game. We'll only do 5-10 minutes on this. It was Australia v Bangladesh. It was an absolute steamrolling. Max, can you summarise this in less time than the game took, please?
I reckon I can do that, yeah. But it'll be tight. Australia versus Bangladesh. Bangladesh's last outing was against South Africa, where they struggled to deal with the pace of Kahisa Rabada and Anrich Nortje. Today, they went one better. They struggled to deal with the pace of Hazelwood, Cummings and Stark, and they also struggled with the spin of Zampa and were bowled out for less than 84. This time, they fell for 73, and Australia nearly did it in the power play, but unfortunately Finch fell in the 6th over, and it took them an extra 2 balls.
They are so bad, Bangladesh.
Shocking.
That's where my analysis
Absolutely
starts.
Shocking. But I mean, it comes down to one thing, doesn't it? With Bangladesh, they play T20 cricket on dirt tracks. They invite people over to Bangladesh. They don't bother sending a proper team but that they'll ever play against in a normal tournament, because there's no point in sending any seamers or anyone who would bat normally. And they roll you over in Bangladesh, and it's a waste of everyone's time. And then you go and play a proper game of cricket and you're crap.
Well, me and Dad actually talked about this at some length on a podcast last week, after Bangladesh were either officially eliminated or were definitely going to be knocked out.
Yeah,
and that is one of the problems. If you play in that environment, you don't ever play a quality opposition because people won't send a quality opposition. You don't ever learn who a good hitter is, because 110 is a good score, and what you need are nerdlers and people who are able to survive tough conditions in test matches. And also you have, and it's a similar problem. A similar problem to what Sri Lanka have. You've got a domestic circuit where you don't really know if anyone's good because they're always playing on bad pitches. So you can never assess who a good hitter is or who a good fast bowler is. And in fact, you don't really incentivise the progression of those players. And I think we were talking, Dan, weren't we, that if you look at how India went from having no seamers to having the best seam attack in the world by changing the conditions in the Ranji Trophy, and I'm talking about Test cricket here, you are able to influence the development of players in that way. And Bangladesh make some proper pitches.
I mean, they've got a guy like Taskin Ahmed who's basically wasted, but he's genuinely quick. He could be a good player, but
did they even play him in the first couple of matches? I think they didn't realise they had him.
I think he played the whole lot because he can bowl at 90 miles an hour. But it's just
No, he didn't play a couple of games because Saifuddin was playing before and then he got injured.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They didn't even, because
didn't even play.
The problem though, if you don't,
it's
when
like
you play at home
bowler.
and you pick 5 left-arm finger spinners, because that is the type of bowler that works when the ball bounces ankle height and rags all over the place, then you'll never know, will you? Because there's no incentive to pick that player. And if domestic cricket is the same as that, then that player isn't going to come through and develop in domestic cricket either, because all of the domestic teams will just pick players like that. Anyway, this game was quite painful to watch, and it's a future suggestion for the ICC: don't play the T20 World Cup after an IPL, because it looks so bad in comparison when matches like this happen. Like, these players have got no business playing international T20 cricket. They shouldn't be. Some other people should be here. They're dreadful. Surely there are 11 other people in Bangladesh, or at least 8 other people in Bangladesh that are better at T20 cricket than this. It's embarrassing.
Don't know if you saw Ben Jones's tweet earlier, and he said Bangladesh are currently ranked the 6th best team in the ICC rankings. On this showing, I'm not even sure if they're the 6th best team in Bangladesh.
That's probably not far from the truth, to be honest.
You know what? Someone asked me today to have a look at some stats of Bangladesh in this World Cup, right? Super's 12 stages of the World Cup. They have a strike rate of 98.57, which is only worse than Namibia. They hit 10.36% boundaries. Again, only Namibia are worse. And just 14.74 balls per wicket with the bat. Only Scotland and the West Indies are worse. With the ball, worst economy rate of all Super 12 teams. They conceded almost 16% boundaries, which is the worst in the tournament as well. So, something to work on, guys.
Lots to work on.
They are
on the plus side, only ways up, right?
Yeah.
You could say that if I don't like cricket club, we're in the World Cup, and you could say the only way is up. But
no, I don't know about that. I'm not sure we've got quite the player pool.
I mean, you've got Woodstock bats, which helps, but I mean,
yeah. That's true.
But without no structure, you're not getting anywhere. So, yeah, something change.
We've got quite a good feeder team selection structure. Actually, I don't like cricket club, so I think we've give it a good go. Yeah, ask people if they know people who like cricket. It works a treat.
Dan, you want to talk about Australia? I imagine they, by winning out today in such style, they are in the driving seat to make semi-finals. But they're still not great, are they?
I mean, I'm so angry that Josh Inglis isn't being picked by them. I mean, I've ranted and I've ranted and ranted, and I'm sure listeners are bored of it, so I'm not going to bother anymore. But I think he's actually not going to play a single match in this World Cup. And it's like...
Don't change a winning team.
It's a travesty. But the problem is, you're chasing 74 against Bangladesh. Don't matter who you pick. You can pick Smithy, you can pick Mitchell Marsh, and whoever you want. It doesn't matter who you pick. But...
Mitch Marsh is the one that kills me there. Like,
yeah, 100%. Why? Yeah, and you know what though? I can't wait for them to play against this team who's going to put 180, 190 on the board. Good luck with that. And
it went very badly.
I hope we get like a Puran or a Hetmar special or Evan Lewis special
to knock them out.
The West Indies and dump them out. Yeah, I hate this team. So I don't hate the players. I just hate the picks. It just blows my mind. It really makes me angry.
A couple of people who were quite good though. Well, one person who was quite good, Adam Zampa, Max, 5 for 19, 5 for in international cricket. Matt Wade drops his hat-trick ball. What would you rather have, hat-trick or fifer?
I think a fifer, actually, because fifers almost seem rarer in T20 cricket than hat-tricks at the moment. You see loads of hat-tricks in T20 cricket, like the back of innings and people just skying the ball up in the air. But I suppose he might have liked this hat-trick because I don't know the stat. I don't have the resources to work out to work it out. But for me, it feels like it might be if it had been a hat-trick, potentially would have been the longest break between the second and third wicket for a hat-trick in the history of T20 cricket, because I think he came off for 3 or 4 overs, didn't he, before he came back on, and everyone had forgotten that it was hat-trick ball until Zampa reminded Matthew Wade after he dropped it, that was my hat-trick ball, mate.
Well, yeah. What did Matt Wade say? I tried to catch it.
At least he knows how it works.
Josh Inglis would have caught it. I just want to make the point as well with that. Adam Zampa was one of our original recruits in the 100, but he couldn't make it last year. So we replaced him with Imran Tahir, who actually did get a hat-trick and a 5-4 in the same match.
Well, there you go.
So, and if anyone's actually really bothered and interested, and they probably aren't, but I'll say it anyway, if you go on my Instagram, Dan_Weston, there's actually a picture of me with Imi after the game holding up five for the 5 wickets. So yeah, go and have a look at that if you're interested.
Cool. We had a couple of questions in, and then we'll wrap up the show. Unless there's anything anyone wants to say about that match that we didn't cover.
No, never again, please.
Yeah. It was only 2 hours and 10 minutes long, which is good.
That's true.
That's the length of an IPL innings.
It's true.
Sushant says, how many out of Gale, Pollard, Bravo and Russell will be retained by their IPL franchises? Max, that's a good one for you to answer.
That is a good one. Gale, no. Gale, absolutely not. Was it Gale, Pollard, Russell and...
Bravo.
Who was the other one? Bravo. Maybe Russell and... Yeah, maybe Russell. I can't see Pollard being retained.
I think they'll retain Pollard. Emotional. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
keeping Pollard.
This is
They
where, Mumbai are going to go heart overhead and retain Rohit and Pollard, and they shouldn't retain either.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair to Mumbai here, their other overseas options are not. It's not like they have a Rashid Khan.
Yeah,
to go
I
to,
suppose. Yeah.
they're really good players. Quite often, well, they're Bumrah and Hardik and Sky and stuff, aren't they?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pollard, you could just about argue for. I think that might be a bit. Yeah. The others.
I probably wouldn't.
No
I think
chance.
he's too old because I think you'll only
Yeah.
get one, maybe 2 years out of him, and they'll probably extend the mega auction like they did last time.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing, with his age, you probably could get him back quite a lot cheaper if you really wanted to as well.
That's what you
wouldn't-
got to look at, yeah.
Yeah. Gale, no.
No way. Absolutely not. And Bravo again, 38. Nah.
Did anyone buy Chris Gale?
Did anyone buy him? Would they buy him? So one of the I don't know. I reckon one of the new franchises will to get people interested. Wouldn't stun me if Punjab pick him up again. That's
For a
a very
fiver.
Punjab move, isn't it? To go back round on that. I wouldn't though. I wouldn't. I wouldn't go near him.
yes.
I wouldn't go near Bravo. I think people, if Pollard goes into the auction pool, I think people will pay too much for him. And if Russell goes into the auction pool, I'd be quite surprised, even though there are some doubts about fitness and age and stuff. Maybe they'll keep Morgan. Just saying.
He's captain.
Yeah.
Maybe
Captain
they're
fantastic.
So thanks for that question, Sushan. And Bill Rodham, along a similar line, but using hindsight, I suppose, says, do West Indies have players they should have selected above the older generation, or at least selection time with the best option? Was there anyone that they should have taken, I don't know, instead of Gale or whatever?
I wouldn't have taken Rampal for a start. That's one. You can say, Dwayne Bravo. That's absolutely fine. He's played in the IPL.
Just won the
whatever.
IPL.
Yeah, exactly. So you can't quibble about that. You can quibble about Rampal. Don't get that at all. I would have taken, say, Romario Shepherd, had a great CPL and can hit as well. They were unlucky with Fabian Allen and Obed McCoy, not being injured or either before or during the tournament. As far as other batters are concerned, Kenar Lewis had a good CPL, but this is a one season for him. So he's someone who I think probably needs to back it up and do a little bit more. But in theory, if he does back that up, he could be a useful top order option. But apart from that, no, not really. I'm not a massive buyer of the rest of their guys. And Brandon King fell off the boil after, I think it was 2019. He had a good season. Hasn't really done a great deal since then. Rodman Powell's got issues playing against spin. No, not really.
Cool.
Apart from that.
Right. Should we wrap the show up?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We're the Cricket Podcast. I'm Jack. That's Max. Dan, let people know where they can find you.
On Twitter at SAAdvantage and on Substack, danweston.substack.com.
You can find us on Twitter at The Cricket Pod. We're sponsored by Woodstock. We're on Patreon. All of this is in the show notes, by the way. Patreon.com/The Cricket Pod if you would like to support the show directly. We always need more Patreons to fund Ross's exuberant lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where's he tonight?
Work.
Spending the proceeds of Patreon.
Yeah, exactly. He's down.
I think someone's going to have to tell Lucy what's going on, I think.
He's gone down Salt Bay's restaurant. He's having a £850 tomahawk steak wrapped in gold leaf. Right, let's wrap this up. We'll be back. I think we might be back tomorrow. It's an India game. We probably should do a podcast. Cheerio.